Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the First Feathers and Fangs Creature Feature, a weekly series in which I talk about some of the amazing animals we get to share this planet with. I am out here at the nature trail. It wasn't closed off today, thank goodness. I much prefer to walk around here and do my videos as opposed to wandering aimlessly over other parts of the lake and having people stare at me and wonder, what the heck is that guy doing? I don't know, maybe I should hand out flyers. Would that make it more weird or what, less weird? Anyway, the month of December is upon us, and it is really crisp and beautiful out here. Peppermint has taken the place of pumpkin spice, thank you God, and winter is upon us, as the Stark family always warned that it would. Winter is coming. So winter has arrived. Anyway, with December being upon us, that means that most folks are getting ready to celebrate Christmas. And what better way to kick off the month of December than by taking a look at some of the animals that call the Arctic home, the North Pole, where Santa lives. You know what I'm talking about. So to start off this month of December excursion, if you will, into the Arctic, I'm going to talk about the narwhal. What is a narwhal, you may ask? That is a narwhal, an Arctic whale with a very distinguishing tusk that comes right out of its upper lip. It's actually a modified canine tooth, but I'll talk about the tusk a little bit later. Narwhals are native to the Arctic Circle, particularly common around northern Canada and Greenland, although they also live in the Arctic portions of Russia and Scandinavia. Narwhals are closely related to the beluga whale, which is the big white whale of the Arctic. And narwhals live primarily under the pack ice. Now what this means is they don't come into shore or near shore very often as killer whales, belugas, or dolphins would. They hunt underneath the pack ice of the Arctic, and they search out their prey items, feeding on halibut, Arctic cod, squid, and cuttlefish. Interestingly enough, other than their tusk, narwhals do not have any protruding teeth in their mouth. Looks an awful lot like that. So, in order to secure their prey, a narwhal will swim right up to the animal. They can swim pretty darn fast. And they will open their mouths and they will suck in a mouthful of seawater very rapidly. And this vacuum effect will trap the prey item, and the narwhal will swallow it whole. Yummy. Okay, side note. That is the first time I've ever seen a buck out here. I've only ever seen does. And he seems a little bit more skittish. But that is awesome. Now it's not during the rut, so he's not gonna act aggressive unless, ooh, oh my gosh. That's a couple of bucks. Hey, what'd you do at the lake? Oh, I found a couple of bucks. Just lying on the ground. Okay, that was pretty cool. Nice distraction. I see the deer all the time here when I come on film, and I don't always want to jet away to them, but it almost feels like they're supporting characters in my creature features now. I should give them names. Would I have to credit them at the end? Do you credit a deer? On another side note, the Lord of the Flies structure, it seems, has been demolished. By who? We don't know. Maybe it was the deer. But back to the majestic narwhal. They can grow up to 20 feet long and weigh anywhere between 10 and 15 tons. That's a pretty sizable whale, although not as big as some of its larger cousins like the blue whale or the fin whale. Anyway, we're keeping on narwhals for now. No other whales. Maybe later. Now I said only males will grow that tusk. and it can reach 10 feet long, half the length of a good-sized narwhal. Some females will grow it, only about 15% of females, and it won't get nearly as long. And sometimes a male narwhal will even have a second tusk. The tusk is a large extension of the left canine tooth, and sometimes males' right canine teeth will also grow out, and they will be not a sea unicorn anymore, a sea tunicorn. Bicorn, there we go. Narwhals are one of the few whales that will change color throughout their lives. When they are born, they are always this smooth charcoal gray kind of color. When they mature, they will go from a mottled gray to kind of a blue mottled gray and brown. And then when they are old, they will turn a pale gray, sometimes even white, like the beluga whale. So, just by looking at it, you can get a rough estimate of how old and what point in its maturity that the narwhal is based on the color of its skin. And they can live a pretty darn long time, up to 50 years. Although, they cannot survive in captivity. Attempts have been made to bring them to aquariums, similar to how dolphins, belugas, and killer whales have been. But for a reason unknown, narwhals cannot survive in captivity. So all efforts to bring them to aquariums or marine amusement parks have stopped. One interesting thing about the tusk of a male narwhal is that scientists cannot come up with a conclusive answer as to exactly why they possess this tusk. For a long time, it was thought that they used their tusk to fight other males during the breeding season, but there is virtually no evidence of this. Then it was thought maybe it was used as a posturing accessory, similar to a peacock's tail or a deer's antlers. But again, there was no real correlation. There was no evidence to suggest that a male with a longer or more tightly curled tusk was the one doing the mating. So then researchers dissected a tusk of several washed up narwhals, and they found that they are filled with nerve endings. And the theory was proposed that the narwhal's tusk can help gauge the environment around it, picking up in differences of the salinity of the water temperature. But I'm gonna switch arms, that arm's tired. But then it made people start asking, well, if this is a sensory organ, why don't female narwhals have it? So I don't think anyone's going to come to a conclusive answer anytime soon. But when they find out, and when I find out, you'll find out. Another interesting fact about the tusk, it can bend up to 1.5 feet in any direction before it snaps. That's pretty unusual for what is essentially a tooth. But it has a relatively soft exterior and a tough core. So like a recurved bow, it can bend and then come back to shape. And this is useful in an environment where, even though the narwhal has an incredible sense of echolocation, it can run into a piece of ice at any moment and potentially snap its tusk, and with as many nerve endings are running through the length of the tusk, I can imagine that'd be pretty painful. Narwhals have few natural predators. Polar bears will prey upon them if they come close to shore or if they get trapped in a section of pack ice. For example, if there's a breathing hole that they will come up to and the water around it freezes, meaning that they are now really, really far away from getting out from under the pack ice, they'll be forced to stay at that breathing hole. And a polar bear will take advantage of that if he can. And he or she, with a polar bear, will dive in and can wrestle a narwhal out of the water and onto the ice. Savage. Other than that, the only predator of concern that they have is the killer whale. Killer whales hunting in packs can quickly subdue an individual narwhal. Although narwhals are rarely on their own, they're very social whales, like most other whales and dolphins. And they live in family groups of about 20 members. Although, in times of good feeding, particularly in the winter, they will form superpods of up to 150 individuals, all coming together, socializing, feeding together, and strengthening bonds. About the only other predator that the narwhal has is humans. Are humans. There we go, proper grammar. The local peoples of the Arctic Circle, particularly the Inuit, have always relied on narwhals as a source of food. Very, very little is offered up by the cold conditions of the Arctic as far as foodstuffs go. So the Inuit had to harvest whales and fish from the sea around them. That was virtually the only choice. And it turns out narwhal skin is very, very high in vitamin C. In fact, weight for weight, narwhal skin is as rich in vitamin C as oranges. And it is believed that the Inuit people in certain parts of the Arctic would not have survived had it not been for eating the skin of the narwhal and getting that vitamin C. Fun fact. Now, because they are not as large and blubber rich as other whales, narwhals were largely spared from the whaling craze that lasted from the 18th into the 19th century. It also helped that they lived primarily under the pack ice. Whaling vessels couldn't get to them. But Inuit people to this day are allowed to harvest narwhals because, like I said, ain't a whole lot up there in the Arctic. They can't just run down to Walmart and get a tri-tip to throw on the grill. They still have to hunt as their ancestors did. And not only is it about survival, but it is about a connection to their past, knowing where they've come from. So it is highly regulated. But Inuit people can still hunt and provide for their families as they did 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Now, while human predation is not ultra threatening to the survival of the narwhal, climate change is. Because there is becoming less pack ice, there's less area for the narwhal to hunt. And because of all the shifting temperatures going from extremely warm by Arctic standards to cold to warm to cold, the ice is behaving very, very erratically. And literally within hours, breathing holes can close up and channels that they use to navigate can close up. And the poor narwhals are drowning under the pack ice. So while they are not threatened for extinction, they are vulnerable. And it'd be a darn shame if these guys went away. I mean, just look at them. Aw. Well, everyone, it is time to say adieu to our dear friends, the narwhals. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop those down in the sections. I really hope you enjoyed this video, as I hope you enjoy all the videos that I put up. I put it up for enjoyment. be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking the red button down there. And be sure to check out the other playlists that I have on this channel, the Creature Features, the Wild Excursions. Check us out on Facebook too. That link is down in the description. This has been Zach for Furs, Feathers, and Fangs. Have a wild day, everyone. Like Furs, Feathers, and Fangs? Want to see more videos from this channel? Be sure to check out the links here for my Creature Feature and Wild Excursion playlists. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Furs, Feathers, and Fangs. And be sure to subscribe for new videos uploaded every week. Well, every week-ish, time permitting. Have a wild day, everyone.